Okay, so this question is how to add a sprint timer to the run on a footsteps script. Now that's in my playlist, the Slender Guide, down to about video 88, play run on footsteps. Or if you just want to grab the script, you can go to the Unity forum Slender Guide, and go to that link, and it'll be in the version of the scripts. Okay. For this project, you can do this on your own. You will need all these assets. From the Angry Bots demo, I've grabbed the player footstep sounds. So there's 2 groups with 4 sounds each for the player footsteps. I'll grab some textures, but even now, I think I'm going to use the terrain. So let's put some terrain assets. So I'm just going to grab some textures. I have them running around on a train instead of my floor. Okay, so we've grabbed this run on footsteps script. We want to create a new JavaScript, and then we'll have a look at putting that together. So this is going to be player run with timer and footsteps. Okay, so let's have a look at that run on footsteps script. So we need an audio source because we're holding 2 arrays of audio clips. Okay, for our walking and our running. We've got how fast the sounds play. We've got our private timers. Some kind of state engine here to see what we're doing if we're walking or running. The variable speeds for the character controller, and referencing the character controller and character mode. So there's our variables. I'll see I'll copy it over bit by bit, but we'll copy the whole lot over and then we'll edit it. Alright, let's do that now. Alright, so we've had a quick look at the variables here. So we've said it requires component audio source for these audio clips. We're also using the character controller and character motor, so we should add a couple of require components there. We're going to require a character controller. We're going to require character motor as well. Okay, so in the start function, we're going to grab those because we reference them privately, so we can't put them in the inspector. So that's all set up. Now this update. What's happening in update for the running and the footsteps? We set the speed, and then we check if the character controller is grounded. We play footsteps. Otherwise, we reset timers to some strange values. Alright, well let's start working on fixing these timers first. Why am I just like it's saying no? Okay, so obviously I want it to be a large number. Normally I set it to the maximum timer value. Now, yes, in the play footsteps script, we're using the audio timers to see if the timer's passed a maximum time, and then we'll play that footstep sound. And I've incremented the timers at the bottom. What I'm going to do is put them up into the top of the play footsteps function. So before anything happens, the timers are incremented. I've decided this is the way I'm going to do things. If you're using a timer, first thing you do is make sure you increment it. So whether you want it to add at the start or the end of the update, it's irrelevant. If we're in an update, timer's passed, let's increment the timer. Increment the timer, and then we check if it's greater than a maximum timer value. So let's clean up this 1000 so it makes more sense. So that's the maximum value of our timer. That's when we want a footstep to play, every 0.4 there for walking. So let's just say, every update we reset this to the maximum values of the timers. Why do I do that? Because I noticed every time you jumped and then you landed, the footstep wasn't playing straight away. So that enables that. So as soon as you jump and you land, the footstep you hear as soon as you land, and then you start walking or running again. Okay, so in the update we have set speed. Now this seems to be working all on its own. Setting its default speed as walk speed. Now we're checking if we've got these inputs, which would be for running. And we're checking if we're grounded, and if we are grounded and we've got the left shift or right shift held down, change our default speed to run speed and apply that to the character motor movement forward speed. Okay. Now if we look into playing footsteps, we seem to have the same kind of inputs going on. And this is using these sort of state engine Boolean values to find out what we're doing. So we really should split this whole thing up and first determine the state and then go to set speed and check if we're playing footsteps. So here in the update we're going to call a new function and then we're going to create a new function. Determine speed. Determine state. Okay, so looking through the play footsteps, here's the state engine kind of part. So let's split this function up. Got a determined state function, and the play footsteps function starts from it is walking. I'll move the set speed down to. Okay, everything's split up in order. So in update we determine our state, and then we set our speed, and then we check if we're playing footsteps. So yeah, determine state, set speed, play footsteps. Okay, yeah, I was going to clean up this script first, and then I was going to answer the actual question that the script was for, was adding a sprint timer. I've just made some notes here already. For a basic sprint timer, it just basically turns your sprinting ability to run on or off. If you don't have any sprint available, then you can't sprint. But there's no linearness to it. It doesn't slowly slow down the character or slowly speed him up again. Alright, let's just clean this up a little bit more. So now that we've got a determined state happening, when we come to set speed, we don't have to worry about the inputs again because we know if we're going to be running or not. So holding down the left shift or the right shift is checking if the player is running. So we can swap that out. And also, I was going to add some other considerations to the movements. That's only dealing with max forward speed. It's not dealing with max sideways speed or max backwards speed. Alright, we'll do that after we have the sprint timer. Okay, I think it's about time to set up scene and see if we've broken anything. Okay, the name character motor. Okay, because yeah, I actually haven't imported the character controller yet, which is what I was about to do. So that error is going to stay. So we go Assets, Import Package, Character Controller. Now select None and watch very carefully as I choose just the first person prefab. And we look at the scripts. That's what we need, the character motor script. Okay, we're also going to use Unity's input controller. And we're going to use the mouse look script. Okay, so for the first person controller, that's all you need to import. And we hit import. Now we have a character motor in our build, so that error's gone away. So let's build our scene. So let's just go terrain, create terrain, set the size just about 1,000. Just give it some quick definition. Fuzzy brush. So if we look around, we can see mountains, I suppose. Terrain. So now for the first person character controller, we delete the main camera, standard assets, character controller, first person controller prefab, bring them somewhere into the middle of our terrain, let's create a directional light, check that the first person controller is not touching or penetrating any colliders. Okay. Save the scene. Hit play, everything should be fine. Okay, so we're walking around, nothing else is happening. So on our first person controller, we'll add that script that we just created, play a run with timer and footsteps. It's added an audio source. Didn't have that previously, which is great. So let's look down at the script. We have walk sounds, we have run sounds. That's what we need the audio for. Just grab, alright, let's just even use one to see if the script doesn't break with one. Okay, so I've got a foot sound for running and foot sound for walking. Got some run speeds. Save the scene. Now we should add some footsteps. If I hit run, they've changed. Okay, so everything's working. Like I said, you can add as many sounds as you want. Check the randomness works. Different sounds. Yep, different sounds. Okay, back to the script. So we've got him running again, and he's making sounds. Determine the state. Now, before we walk out of determined state, we've got some considerations. Okay, we can check if we're sprinting in this case. So this has come from something else that I did. If I'm running, then I'm decreasing our sprint timer. Okay, that's like a stamina timer, really. Stamina. So I'm reducing my stamina from sprinting. Check if my stamina is below 0, then I'm not running anymore. Otherwise, if I'm not running, I'm walking, so I can increase my stamina. If I check it's greater than my maximum stamina, then I just cap it out there. It's like clamping. So that whole else could be taken out. Oh no, because we've still got the additional timer. So let's see if we can implement this kind of theory into our running with sprint timer and footsteps. So if sprinting is running, we need a sprint or a run duration. Let's just copy that. Speed. So after the speeds, we could have sprint duration. Okay, let's make that run. Alright, so this guy can run for 10 seconds without having to stop. We need our timer. We've got our run time. Okay, so before we walk out of the state engine, say if, else. Right, so if what? If running, if we are running, we're going to decrease from our timer. So where's that timeout? Run timer. So run timer, take away from that, time dot delta time. And check if our run timer is less than 0. Oops. Then we are definitely not running because we've run out. And he's walking. If we're not running, we're going to say we're walking. Walking is true. Okay, so if we're running, we're depleting the timer, checking if it's below 0. If it is, we're walking. Okay, else it's not. So we're going to increase the run timer. We're going to recharge it, regenerate it. So run timer plus equals time delta. And then we're just going to clamp the value. So, like I said, we can just do that with a clamp. Run timer equals math f dot clamp. The run timer, that's going to clamp to between 0 and what I call it, run duration. And that should be it. So after we check from the player inputs if we're running, we double check against our sprint timer. And we reset them to walking if run out of stamina. So that should work for 10 seconds. Just thinking, how can we test that quickly? I can drop that down to 2 seconds in the inspector here. So it should only have running sounds for 2 seconds. I'm walking, 1 and 2 and okay, it's down to 0. Okay. So like I said, he's going to try and sprint. Oops. Don't use sticky keys. Okay, so he's got 2 seconds on his timer. So I think that basically covers it. How do we add a sprint timer to the footstep script? So what we've done is we've added this part in here. I've created a new function from the play footsteps, determine state, grab the first half of that out of play footsteps into this determine state, added this part here to check if we still can. And then in the set speed, we just check now if it's character control is grounded and it's running. The play footsteps now only starts from his walking for the play audio. Okay.